There is such a lack of sports news that when there's sports news, it is probably a little overdone in times of other times it might get a lot less attention, but it's like throwing a bone to somebody and having them gnaw on it because there's so little going on. Uh, and I'm talking about the rumors about the Mets. I saw things today that are just utterly. I mean, I see a lot of stuff that's ridiculous. There's a lot of stuff written about me that people write they have no idea about. They write about lies and it's just ridiculous, and stuff they write about finances that are just completely ridiculous. But the Mets stuff, nobody's getting the Mets 20 cents on the dollar. I mean, come on now. This is a franchise that's worth billions of dollars. These guys aren't giving this franchise away. They don't have to give this franchise away. Yeah, they might have a revenue shortfall like about every other team, including the New York Yankees. But they're going to come up with the money that they have to come up with. They're not going to give the franchise away. And this idea, I'm not even going to embarrass the person who wrote the story and say, the Mets, who are in such a spot right now that they may give the team away 20 cents on the dollar. What are you, crazy? 1 year's revenues in baseball do not impact the asset that a major league franchise, a big sport franchise in New York is worth. You can't get your hands on these franchises. They come available once every 20 years if you're lucky. And understand this. What you do year to year with these franchises is the secondary phase of this thing. The Wilpons, remember this, when this franchise was first bought, was bought for $20 million. And they had an option on half. When they bought the other half of the franchise, and there was a dispute, they had to get an arbitrator to come up with it. They had to come up with, if I remember right, about $250 million for their other half. Maybe it was 230. The point is, this franchise, those dollars, $20 million, 21 and change when it was first sold, $230 to $250 million when the deal was to take over the entire franchise. The franchise is now worth somewhere between $2.6 and $2.8 billion. How do you think? How about if I give you an investment over the next 30 years where you can keep it and you can make 10 times or more on your money? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous what people talk about with this franchise. This franchise is going to cost billions of dollars for somebody to buy. And it should. It's a New York baseball team in an era where franchises are a license to print money and will be again. They're not at this moment. All these teams are going to lose money this year. Every team in sport is going to lose money this year. Sports is going to lose a lot of money. Networks are going to take hits. TV networks, radio networks, broadcast networks, anybody doing deals in any part of sports this year is going to take a hit. You see people laying off people already. You've seen it in every walk of sports life. You know how much money has been lost in sports already this year? You've shut sports down now for 3 straight months, down to 0. You shut anything down for 3 months, you're going to hurt it. They're not going to have fans in their buildings this year. Yes, they're going to take a short-term hit. Everybody is. But in 2 years, it'll be gone. It'll be forgotten. And will they sell the team in that time period? Yes, I think they will. Will there be people to buy the team? Yeah, there'll be more than one. After Stevie Cohen, I heard, there won't be anybody else who comes and buys the team. There's been 2 other significant buyers, and I'm not counting A-Rod and J-Lo, who, again, need a big person to be part of the deal. You see, the players don't have this. The Wall Street guys have this kind of money. Players don't have this kind of money. We've talked about that before. But the idea that somebody's going to buy the Mets 20 cents on the dollar, come on, it's utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. If you were selling that franchise for a flat $2 billion, you'd have people running to buy it. You're not buying it for that price. You're going to pay more than that for it. and it's worth it. You'll make good. You will do well. The person who buys that franchise, and now it's more of there's a better chance they'll own more than one franchise than just one franchise because that's really the way it works now. You have these groups putting together packages of teams that include soccer teams and include teams in other sports. It's much more that way now than in the past. And there are a couple of leagues which would rather you don't own a whole bunch of teams. But even that's gone. Even that's gone away now. What they want is real big players. That's what they want. They want solvent ownership. And now you're in a world where you're into new revenue streams that haven't even been tapped yet. Do you know what the sports revenue, do you know what the sports gambling revenue stream is going to produce in sports in the next 10 years? Countless billions of dollars. Not millions, billions. Once they figure out how to run it, how to really run it and bring it to the public, get through all the different things and legislations in different states and how things are done. Once they get to bring it into your stadium, and they will, you'll eventually have kiosks in your stadium where you'll be able to bet. I think there'll eventually be a time, and it'll probably only be in the expensive seats early, but eventually it'll be everywhere where you'll be able to bet during the game. The day's coming. You'll be able to bet a batter at a batter. That day's coming. It's not that far away. In-game betting now is very, very popular and very prevalent. You can do it from home now all the time. You can bet now on a big NFL, nationally televised NFL game. You can bet on every score change, and you can bet on every major commercial break. You can make a wager on the game that could be a different wager than the wager you made 20 minutes before. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Not to mention what's going to happen when on your mobile phone, where you can just basically stream into any game you want to watch at any time as long as you're willing to pay for it or buy the overall package. It's coming. The revenue streams are boundless. Franchises are going to be very, very coveted. They already are, but they're going to be even more coveted assets than they've been. Right now is a tough time. There's no question, because these franchises are not built and they are not set up to not have revenue streams in season. They're not set up that way. Payments that they expect to be made haven't been made. Money they expect to be getting hasn't been made. They don't have money coming in on every homestand. They don't have money coming in from all their suppliers and all the people they do business with and networks and just countless. It's an endless stream, but it's the same for everybody. And that will lead to shortfall, and that will lead to revenue crunch on certain people, absolutely. But those are short-term, and they are minuscule when you look at them in the totality of what an entire franchise is worth, especially a franchise in Major League Baseball in the city of New York. That is a jewel. Any way you count it, that is a jewel. So nobody's giving the Mets away. Now, whether or not the first deal fell through, whether or not Steve Cohen wants to get back in, who knows? Whether or not someone else will make a deal that the Wilpons and both he and the Wilpons can live with, who knows? But it'll happen.